Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Chris, back again with my co-host Ty. This is the Pedal Dance Podcast. So, Ty, what are we doing today?
Today we are covering the fossil set of TCG.
All right, and if I'm not mistaken, this is your favorite set, right?
From out of all the first gen cards, it in fact is.
All right, so I know you're pretty excited to do this. So,
Oh, yeah.
say what now?
Oh yes.
All right, so honorable mentions first, like usual.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to start or should I?
I think I started with the honorable mentions last time.
Okay, so I guess I'll go with my honorable mentions then. Okay, so my honorable mentions, I had to give it to shoot. I can't remember now if it was Fuji or Fiji, but yeah, Mr. Fiji.
Mr.
And
Fuji, yay!
yeah.
Almost put him on mine as well.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to add Moltres and Dragonite to my honorable mentions. So, because Dragonite, I probably would have added it to my list if it wasn't for the fact that the card I have is foreign. And Moltres didn't really make my list because, the discarding, the energy thing, I so was not a fan of that back in the day. So.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so what are your...
My honorable mentions, one's Moltres. Moltres is my favorite of the legendary birds, but the card is just so bad. For one energy, Wildfire. Discard as many energy off of Moltres as you want, and your player has to discard that many cards off the top of their deck into the discard. I mean, that's not bad, but I mean, to me, that's not worth putting in the deck for. And then for 4 fire energy, Dive Bomb, flip a coins. If tails, this attack does nothing. No, thank you. I want something that hits and make sure it hits. Yeah, it does 80, but I mean, still, it's only 50-50, and I'm not for that.
Yeah.
So that's why Moltres is on my honorable mentions. Another one of my honorable mentions is Slowbro, and Slowbro is on my honorable mentions because of its ability, Strange Behavior. As often as you like during your turn before you attack. This is not once per turn. This is as many times as you like, which is great. You may move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to Slowbro as long as you don't knock it out. So that's really, really convenient. So you could just pile up the energy onto your Slowbro while healing your other Pokemon. You could just max potion or whatever your Slowbro and just keep it healing. And that is super clutch. And finally, my last honorable mention is Gambler. Shuffle your hand into your deck. Huh?
I said not a bad choice.
Right. Shuffle your hand into your deck. Flip a coin. If heads, draw 8 cards. Flip tails, you only draw 1. And it's just that right there that made me not put it on my top 10. Because, yeah, drawing 8's fantastic. But if you have my type of luck, 10 times out of 10, you're going to get tails. And you're just going to be stuck with 1 card.
Yeah, that factor probability doesn't always work in everybody's favor.
And it never works in mine. So yeah. So without any further ado, I say it's time to get on to the actual top 10.
Okay. So who's going first this time? Because I can't remember last time.
I think the person who goes first in the honorable mentions goes second in the top 10.
Oh, okay. So that means you're going first.
That means I'm going first. And my number 10 is Articuno.
Okay.
Articuno is a really good Pokemon card in this set. Great type in water. Has both decent attacks. Freeze Dry for 3 energy, 30, and paralysis on a coin flip. It's not bad. Blizzard for 4 energy does 50. Flip a coin. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. If tails, it does 10 to your benched Pokemon. So it's not bad. And especially if you keep getting heads on Blizzard, you can whittle down not only their active, but their benched as well. So that's super useful. And that right there is why Articuno is number 10 on my list. Ty, who's your number 10?
Okay, my 10 is actually probably the least expected, but also I think it should be the most expected given the fact. But no, my number 10 is actually the Fossil, because it was the first trainer card to ever become a Pokemon. It was the first introduction of the Fossil era, or what have you. And it also allowed a gateway for new Pokemon to make its way into the TCG world.
Nice choice.
It was so weird having a trainer card on your bench with 10 HP.
Yeah, you're not lying about that.
All right, so what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Slowbro.
Yeah.
For one reason.
Uh-huh.
Pokemon Power. Toxic Gas. It's basically... what am I thinking of? What's the name of the ability? It's Garbodor's main ability. Garbotoxin. It's mainly that now. It basically shuts off all other Pokemon abilities while it's in play, whether it be active or on the bench. And having that comes in handy so much. Being able to stop your opponent from using any abilities or Pokemon powers back then, yeah, it's such a great card.
All right.
So that's actually the only reason why Muck is number 9. And I just like Muck. Muck is cool to me. I know a lot of people hate it, but
Okay, yeah, because like at first, like I don't know why I thought you said Slowbro at first, because I'm like, wait a second, wasn't that your honorable mention? I don't know. I know I keep hearing a buzzing noise go off every so often. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not my phone, but anyway. But my number 9 is Recycle. I just thought, I just thought the card was always funny to look at. I just thought it was kind of funny. And honestly, now after seeing all the Detective Pikachu trailers, it just kind of makes the Jigglypuff look that much funnier to me because whenever I see that Jigglypuff making that angry face, it instantly has me think of that card. So, what's your number 9?
Number what?
You're Chris? Or
Right. No, okay. Number 8.
no, oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, that's right. Because I'm going second. My bad. I'm sorry. I still got a case of morning brain. So.
My number 8 is actually Mysterious Fossil.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we both put it.
I put it on my list for every reason that Ty said. Plus, this is what the set is based on, so there's no way I could. It's the gateway, like she said, that brings out Pokemon from Kabuto and Kabutops, Omastar, Omanite, and Aerodactyl. So it has a big part to play in this set, and for that reason, I had to put it on. Ty, what's your number 8?
Well, first, I'm still kind of bothered by the fact that I let my case of morning brain get in the way. But you got to also remember, I am not a coffee drinker. I know some people tell me I need to break out the coffee, but I do not like coffee. So, but yeah, my number 8 is Slowbro.
9.
Mm-hmm. And pretty much for all the reasons you said, although my number one reason for having it on my list is because how many times I utilized it in the Game Boy Color game. So, so what's your number 7, Chris?
My number 7 is actually Ditto.
Say that again one more time.
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay.
Ditto was such a neat part to the set because as long as it was your active, it copied your opponent's active Pokemon. And it copied everything from type to HP to weakness.
Your sound is very muffled right now.
Oh, well, let me try again. It copies your opponent's active Pokemon while it's active. So, and it copies everything from hit points to weakness to everything. So it was just a really big part, especially if
you're kind of cutting out there. I'm not sure what's going on your end, but I will give you that though. If I recall correctly, whenever you use Ditto in the Game Boy Color game, it would actually change the overall card's appearance to look like whichever Pokemon it transformed into.
And that's basically what it does. It copies everything about your opponent's active Pokemon for type to HP to weakness to resistance and everything.
I really should have had it either on my list or on my honorable mentions because you're absolutely right. I didn't really consider that. And if you have your phone on a flat surface, I think you really ought to pick it up because it's going off again. Okay, so with that being said, I guess it's my turn to do my number 7. And my number 7, if I may, Chris, is Golem.
Nice.
Yeah, Golem was a card that I've not only physically owned, but I also have it on the TCG. I can't remember. I think this particular Golem, though, I think I have it in a different language as well. But I do remember fondly using it on the TCG game itself. I know it had one of those attacks where it needed 4 energies, but it also did an insane amount of damage. So, and it had a quality HP as well. So, if I may though, Chris, what is your number 6?
Well, hopefully, you're number 7, Golden. The only bad thing about it is one of its attacks does damage to itself. And it pretty much knocks itself out. That's the only reason why I didn't put it on. But yeah, it's still a great card and a great choice to put on your top 10.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right though, because I do think I remember that being like an explosion or a self-destruct type of attack. But it was also great for last-minute resorts. If you didn't want to use that attack right away, you could have always retreated it and use it to finalize the battle. Especially if you've got the upper hand on prize cards, it might be worth the sacrifice.
Very much so.
So, yeah. All right, so
going on to number 6. Is Aerodactyl.
Aerodactyl?
Yes. Aerodactyl is just for one reason. It was the first color I pulled out of the fossil set. And it just looks amazing. By far one of my favorite colors.
Okay, right now your audio is about the equivalent of a weatherman who's standing out doing the news, and the rain is kind of like the rain water that the weatherman would have is the same type of issue you're having where the weather drowned you out. So I'm not sure what the problem is with your audio, but
can you hear me now?
Well, yes, I can hear you, but the voice is so soft in comparison to what it can be.
I don't know why, because I'm actually projecting my voice.
Now it's better. Now it's better.
Okay. Well, Aerodactyl is my number 6, just for the reason that it was my very first holo card pulled from the fossil set, and it is one of my favorite holos in the set. It's not necessarily that good. 3 colorless for 30 damage and 60 HP, which is really low even by that time. But the ability, the power was decent to where no more evolution cards can be played while it's on the bench or active. So that could be really useful. But still, to me, since it does have to evolve from the fossil, not really too good. But yeah, that's the reason why Aerodactyl's number 6 on my list. What about you?
Okay, my number 6 is actually Arbok. I really like the art style. I've used it on I've used it on the Game Boy Color as well, and I also physically have the card. I just thought it was very appealing, and I know it's gotten me a victory or two here and there. So I'm not sure what you have to add about Arbok, but is my number 6.
Arbok to me has one of the most underrated artworks in the entire set.
Yeah, I think so too.
It has to be one of my favorite Arbok artworks, period. It just looks amazing.
It does. It really does. And you have a side angle at that.
Right.
Yeah. But I will give you though I will give you the Aerodactyl because like I'd never really used it a lot myself. I wish I had the ability to use it more. It wasn't really a card that was very obtainable to me though, but it does sound like a good number 6. So with that being said, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Zapdos.
Oh, okay.
Zapdos is my number 5 because its attack is just ridiculously funny to do. Thunderstorm for 4 lightning energy, it does 40 damage. For each of your opponent's benched Pokemon, flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 20 damage to that Pokemon. Then Zapdos does 10 damage times the number of tails to itself. So if you get
If you get
you're
okay.
doing some good damage. Yeah, you do 10 damage to yourself if you get tails, but that's still not that much.
Yeah.
So it's
Although
really
you
not
can add
bad.
oh yeah, agreed. But let's see though. Anyway, I wasn't trying to cut you off though. I was just trying to make sure your audio didn't cut out again. So I didn't want you to worry about that.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So what's your
And
number 5?
so my number 5 is actually Raichu. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is the same Raichu that if you were one of the lucky few, you had the one where it had the pre-release stamped on it. And that card's rumor that been hearing through the grapevine is that if you have that card currently right now, you may be in possession of yourself $15,000 per card.
I'm just gonna cut you off right there, Ty. It's actually the Raichu from Jungle set that had the pre-release stamp.
Okay, then I am thinking of a different Raichu. I'm sorry.
Oh, not
I,
Jungle. It was from base set. Sorry.
well, I made this list a while back though, but
I got you.
yeah,
I
I'm
know
having trouble
we're
remembering
here to
the art.
correct each other. We're just here to
I,
help each other out.
I do this one surely based on the artwork. Okay, so I think this Raichu then. This one's got the stripes in the background, right?
Yes, where it looks like it's like kind of hunched back, like it's like
Yeah,
sitting or trying to lay down with its arm up in the air.
yeah.
Yes.
That Japanese sunset style. That's that alone is going to help me remember that one. So
Right.
that's a whoopsie on my part, getting my sets confused.
Oh, it's no problem. It happens.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
about that Raichu card with the pre-release, I actually had that pre-release Raichu. I pulled it out of a Walmart pack, but that was one of the many cards that got stolen by somebody I used to call a friend.
yeah, I hate people that do things like that. You call them a friend, you try to show them some compassion, and what do? They do nothing but take and take and take. Hate people like that. But yeah,
But let's try to move on with the happiness, Ty.
yeah, exactly. So with this particular Raichu, I used it on the TCG on the Game Boy Color as well. Uh, I found it to be a pretty decent looking card. And let's see, I also had it in real life. It was actually one of the Raichus that I did have in real life because I didn't have the base set Raichu or the any of the other Raichus. I had this Raichu. So it just made it more special because it was a decent card. So
Nice. And it was a decent card. I think that was my brother's first holographic in the fossil set was that particular Raichu.
mhm.
And I
Okay.
actually think that was his favorite holographic from the set. But still overall, nice choice, Ty.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is recycle.
Oh wow, you really put it up there.
Oh, yes, flip a coin. If heads, put a card from your discard pile on top of your deck. That can be any card. It doesn't have to be just a Pokemon. It can be any card. That can come in handy. So many different levels.
I feel like I was so stupid as a kid because there was so much I could have benefited from having known.
You and me both.
All
This was
right.
back during the time where if it wasn't a Pokemon, it wasn't shiny, we didn't want it.
Yeah. So anyway, though, I guess if with that, I'll go ahead and take that as an intro to do my number 4.
Indeed.
Okay, so my number 4 is Lapras. This card, when once you drew it, it felt like a lifesaver. I had this in both. I had this experience in both the TCG video game for the Game Boy Color, as well as in real life, because I had the card for both. And the holo was also aesthetically pleasing as well. But if you had this card, the HP alone had you feeling like you could pretty much take a hit and you wouldn't have to worry about dying right away. So that was the great level of comfort that you had with Lapras. And just the fact that it could also attack as well, it didn't have a move that didn't do damage. So so the fact that it could do damage just made it a wholesome card altogether to have.
Agreed. And the fact that one of the attacks confuses on a coin flip and the other attack does more damage with more water energy that you have attached to it. It's very a solid number 4 pick. And you're right, the holographic is just gorgeous.
Yeah, and the confusion can come in handy, granted, but in the same token, the fact that it's also dealing damage as well as giving a status condition just makes it all the better. So I couldn't remember the attack off the top of my head. I just remember that card saving my butt many a time.
Oh, right.
So what's your number 3 there, Chris?
My number 3 is Energy Search.
Oh, okay.
This card came in clutch so many times. Let's just say you're trying to find one more energy to be able to start attacking, and you cannot draw it for the life of you. And all of a sudden, you draw the trainer, Energy Search. What does it do? Search your deck for a basic energy card and put it in your hand. And of course, shuffle afterwards. But still, that card came in clutch so many times. It saved so many games for me that I surely would have lost if I hadn't drawn it. That card is so good. And you don't have to discard anything to use
Yeah.
it, which is so good. Yeah, it stinks. It's only for basic, so you can't get anything like a double colorless out with it, but still, such a good card.
Yeah, I got to give that one to you. It definitely comes in handy, but in the same token, like, depending on how many energy you need, it's not always much of a lifesaver. But the fact that you could also back in the day play as many trainer cards as you want because there was no limitations on trainers back in the day, also
Exactly.
also truly helped make it to be a more epic card than what it's proclaimed to be as of right now. So,
Right.
so with that, my number 3 is actually Kabutops. Well, Kabutops, or however you want to pronounce it, I should say. Uh,
Nice
so,
card. Nice choice.
so what I love about Kabutops is that it was one of the hollows that I got, and I actually got this card in both English and a different language, if I'm not mistaken. And I also played it a lot on the video game as well. And more ironically enough, completely unrelated to TCG, I actually do have a figurine of Kabutops. It was one of the it was one of the figurines I got with the little grabber balls, if you remember those. They had the little prong, and once the Pokemon touched the prong, it got caught. So
Oh, I
yeah,
remember those. I had some of those too.
I know, right? So
Those things are so cool.
yeah, so that instantly just made Kabutops one of my favorite fossil Pokemons from the Kanto region in general, and that's also why I had to choose it as my number three. Plus, it was a really powerful Pokemon on the TCG as well that I can recall. I'm not as quite
Down.
well. I'm not as quite as good at remembering the move sets like somebody I know, but
Hey. I do
yeah.
this because I actually save pictures and have them for reference.
Oh, we can't all be that fortunate. I'm still in the process of sorting my cards. I have yet to get in touch with my older cards as far as
Ty,
my
there's a
sort.
thing called Google and screenshot.
Yeah, I know, but I remember the pictures because whenever you played on the Game Boy Color, like that's what you referred to was the picture. The picture just instantly made you remember how good it was, and I mean, you also had to read.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think I had this game before I learned how to read. I,
I
so,
gotcha.
I mostly just looked at the numbers.
I
Yeah.
got you. I understand completely. I never had Kabutops as a actual card, sadly. To me, it is one of the coolest looking holographic cards in the set. The
Hmm.
one bad thing I would say about Kabutops is it's a stage 2 and it only has 60 HP. That's low. That's completely low for that time for a stage 2 to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only down part by it. But I mean, its attack is decent. I don't remember its ability, but I'm pretty sure it was okay. But still, overall, a solid number 3 pick.
Yeah. I just had such favoritism. So that being said, though, what's your number two?
My number 2 is Gengar.
Ah, yes, that's an interesting
Gengar,
choice.
Gengar, one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon. Great type in Psychic in the card game at least. Decent HP with 80. It's Pokemon Power Curse.
Mhm.
Once during your turn, you can move one damage counter from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another one of their Pokemon. So let's say they retreated with a Pokemon that has 10 HP left, and they bring up a Pokemon that and they have another Pokemon already that has damage done to it. You can move that damage counter from that Pokemon to the one that's almost knocked out and knock it out and take a prize card. And that's not even, and you still get to attack afterwards, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's attack Dark Mind does 30 for 3 psychic energy. If your opponent has any benched Pokemon, choose one of them, and this attack does 10 damage to it. So that's an easy way to set up for what I just told you.
Yeah. I gotta admit though, Gengar does sound like a pretty epic. Gengar does sound like a pretty epic card and what have you. But it wasn't one that I got to encounter very much of. So that's kind of devastating.
Yeah, I only had one, and it was non hollow, and I love the hollow form. I never had it, but it was still cool that I actually had a Gengar from Fossil, so I was fine with it. At the
Yeah.
time, I wasn't fine with it, but
Yeah.
because I was young, I wanted shinies.
Yeah, trust me, I know the feeling. All right. So I guess I'll take that as an intro for my number two. My number two
Yeah.
is actually Articuno, which you've
Wow,
all.
such a big difference from number 10 to number 2.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, Articuno was just it was one of those Pokemon. It didn't evolve. If you got it out there fast and were able to equip it, you had a really decent Pokemon out there. So and yeah, I think you've already been over the attacks. So yeah, I mean, I shouldn't have to say much more, right?
Right.
All right. So now, finally, I can ask you for your number one. Let's see if I can do a drum roll here. That's close enough, right? I don't know.
We'll make it work.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could hear that.
I heard it a little bit. But
Okay.
my number one is Dragonite. Why
Mhm.
is Dragonite my favorite card from Fossil Set? Well, let me run down a list. It's a normal type that has no weakness, which is great. 100 HP, which is phenomenal during that time. The attack isn't too much to write home about. 4 energy. Basically, you can build it up in 2 turns with 2 double colorless energy. Slam for does 40 times the number of heads that you get from 2 coin flips. So max you can do 80, which isn't bad at that time. And its ability, step in. Once you have Dragonite on your bench once per turn, if you want to put it up to the active slot, you can do that. That's its ability. It can just automatically become your active Pokemon, which is nuts. And it's my favorite card art from the set. It's my favorite holo from the set. Dragonite is just adorable. And it's just overall just a really good card, especially in the early games. Early sets of the TCG. But right there, that's why Dragonite is my favorite card from the Fossil set.
I think I did have it on the video game. The hardest part for me, though, was just being able to drag it out and get it to use. So,
Dragging out the Dragonite.
yeah. So,
Tied, number one.
all right. My number one is actually Zapdos. Okay.
Gasp.
Yeah, so if it wasn't quite obvious, I already have a partial favoritism to Zapdos. I grew up with a Zapdos toy, and
Bias.
extremely biased. But it was also one of my favorite cards to see, especially whenever it came around on the TCG video game. It was definitely one of my favorite cards to see. However, I always had a habit of having to make sure I knew the differences between the Zapdos, because with the game, you actually had a variety of sets in that game. So the hardest part for me was remembering which Zapdos was which, and this was the good one.
Agreed.
So, so that's why it's my number one, is because of how amazing it was in the game as well, and I also have the physical card itself as well. So that's also another reason to have it as my number one. But like I said, it's like my favorite card from this set entirely, and that's why I personally had to make it my number one. And
Well,
not to be,
yeah,
well,
say what?
I was going to say not to be corny or anything though, but in case it wasn't obvious, he's also the reason I'm Team Instinct on Pokemon Go. For those of you that play,
Team Valor for life if I ever played.
if you ever got on, you already have an account.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm busy. And like I already told you, there's nothing around where I live. I have to literally go where I work to get anything. And when
Yeah.
I'm going up there, I'm working. So,
Yeah. Meanwhile, my job has a habit of taking me through New Orleans, so
yeah, whatever.
I'm I'm,
Trust
I'm
you.
just giving I'm just giving them an example of the type of environment that I live in, of why I could possibly be able to play that game successfully and get
You're around
something out of it.
nothing but Pokemon and Pokestops.
No, not entirely. I do have to walk 5 minutes to my nearest Pokestop.
Oh no, that sounds like such a tragedy. No, you have to walk 5 minutes.
And
How will you survive?
at least I have a gym I can see from my house to check it for raids. So there's also that. And Discord's also been a super help for
See,
Pokemon Go.
Ty, not everyone is that fortunate.
But this is a TCG chat. So
Right.
yeah.
But those are our lists. I had fun with this one. I'm pretty sure Ty did.
Yeah, of course.
And this will wrap up this episode of the Pedal Dance Podcast TCG episode number
Be
3.
sure to like, comment, subscribe, and possibly report if somehow we manage to offend you.
Ty, you
So,
always are.
well, I mean, I don't try. Just kind of,
It comes
I
natural.
just have, I just have a habit of annoying people without even trying.
Oh, don't I know that feeling? But yeah, like my co-host said, like, comment, share, subscribe. Draw your pitchforks and light your torches and come to
Or
our
just leave us
doors.
a comment in the or just leave us a comment in the comment section. That works too. I don't want to be bombarded with threats.
Well, they can still threaten us from the comment section, Ty.
No, but that doesn't mean I have to read it.
Fair point. So with that, this has been the Pedal Dads Podcast. I am Chris, and this is my co-host Ty, and we will see you next week whenever we cover the next set. I'm not sure what the next set is. I can't remember. I think it's Team Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is going to be the beginning of me actually having to look up cards because I did collect from here on out. I did collect from like Team Rocket to a couple of Neo packs. But other than that, I'm going in completely blind from here on out until we get to like Gen 6. So be looking forward to that. But with that, for myself and my co-host Ty, this has been the Pedal Dance Podcast, and we will talk to you in the next video. Later.